Yo, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back. I think this is episode 9, I believe, and we're going to be looking at operators. Operators, well, what is operators? Well, think of operators like this, right? We have two variables that could be equal to 100, right? And we want to plus 65 on each of those, so that would make it 165, right? Well, so we want to print out both of those values for each one of those integers. Well, we can do that, but operators are just either adding, multiplying, negativing the value, like minus the value, dividing the value, or percenting the value, or incrementing one or decrementing one, right? So operators are just, think of them as this: we're plussing or negative, or dividing or multiplying or whatever, two values or a value, let's say, right? So let's see how that works. So let's go int x is equal to 100 plus 65. Let's do this one more. Let's say int y is equal to 100 plus 65. And if we go C out, we get the value of x, and then we give ourselves a new line so that we don't have that weirdness, and do the same thing for y. I could just copy and paste the code up above, but we don't really have to do that. We want to try to type out as much as we can to learn. So now if we compile it, we get 165 and 165 because we said the variable x is equal to 100 plus 65 for x, and the same for y. And we could print those two values to the screen. Now let's say, for example, that I want to minus 65. So I want to minus both of these values, right? Well, we know what's going to happen. We're just going to get 100 for each. Nope, we're going to get 35. Oh, you kind of thought strange. Oh, you're wondering, why is 35? Why didn't I just get 100? Well, it's because x is equal to 100 minus 65. So think about it. If we take 100 and we minus 65 off of 100, we're going to get 35. You usually thought, well, if 165 and it's minus, we'll just take off 65 and make 100, but that's not the case. I just wanted to prove that point to you all because some people might think like that. So let's say, for example, also that we want to divide these values, right? Let's see what we get when we add some division in there. Now we just get 1. So 100 divided by 65, we get values of 1. So let's do the same thing but multiply it. So let's multiply both of these values now, right? What do we get on multiple division here? Oh, we get 6,500 and 6,500. Nice. Okay. And I, just out of curiosity, does anybody in here use computer programming during the day to actually solve mathematical problems or prices in stores? I know this sounds really stupid, but I have a small little, I built this small little small computer that has a kind of like little small keypad, kind of like the Xbox 360 little messenger pad that hooked onto the bottom of the 360 controller. I had one of those hooked, it's similar to one of those, but hooked to a small little monitor, and I was able to do math calculations on that on the fly. I always took it everywhere. It's even foldable. I could fold the entire thing. I created it on my own. It was really neat. It was years ago. And I take that thing everywhere and just do mathematical stuff when I know I want to know the tax and the prices. I know that really sounds corny as shit, but I do that. And the computer never lies. I always get a valuable answer as long as I'm able to type out the code correctly. And it's just awesome because it was one story time. It was one time I was in a Lowe's, and I was looking at a AC unit for a window for one of my buildings, and asked a technician to come over there, and asked him, I said, hey, do you have any more of those in stock in the back or anything? And he said, we may actually have a few of those we haven't brought out yet. Shipment just came in a couple days ago. And I was like, awesome. It's the same. If it's the same price, I'd like to have one of those. And he said, I think it is. Let me check. And I asked him, I said, you happen to know the tax and everything it's going to cost? Said it's okay. I can check it out myself. So I bring out this little calculator shit. I started doing the programming, and he got a little bit nosy about it. And he's like, he just kind of looks over down at my screen. I'm like, I look back at him, and he's like, are you programming to know the tax in that? I'm like, yeah. He's like, wow, I've never seen that before. So it was a fun experience, man. He got a kick out of that. That was the first time he's ever seen that. I don't know if anybody else does that. You could probably do it on your phone. But dumbass me had to create something. But anyway, so let's say 1% now, right? As we're kind of getting a little longer. But if you notice, so let's go ahead and do our noticing here. Blah, 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 blah. We get 35. So 100% of 65 is 35, right? Now let's say we want to do an increment. So we want to go negative, negative. Oh, sorry. Negative, negative. So this is a negative, negative considered, but this is not how you would do a decrement or an increment. So if n is equal to 100, well, you don't want to add this here on the end. So let's go ahead and take this off. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't done decrements in a while. If you go negative, negative, it won't let you do it. Or just think of, I ain't going to give you a code example. I'll just give it a short answer. I want to make this video as short as I can. Increment and decrement is only taking a value of 1, incrementing 1 from integer. So if it's 100, it'd be 101. Or a decrement would be a taking off 1. So if it would just stay to 100, it wouldn't be incrementing one byte or one decimal, or not decimal, but one number, so to speak. So it's simple like that. We may cover increments and decrements later on because I have a better way to explain it, and I don't want to do it here because I'm already added so many of these. It's just weird to you, and I want to keep it as simplified as I can. Increment and decrementing can get tricky, and it can get complex. There's really some funky ass ways you can use that. So I mean, I could do a code example right now, but it's just, to me, I think it's I want to leave you right here. So let's go ahead and stop right here. That's your operators. So thank you all for watching. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.